What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Jay. If you're looking to grow your Amazon or eBay dropshipping business, make sure to click subscribe as well as the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my content. And today we're going to be talking about how much money you can make dropshipping on Amazon. I know this is probably one of the first questions people ask when they look into dropshipping in general. And there's a bunch of factors that go into it. I'll go through some specific numbers and examples a little later on. But I think the first thing that you got to consider, or the first thing you need to ask yourself is, are you going to be doing this full-time or are you going to be doing it part-time? And you also want to consider how much time you're going to be putting into the business, because if you're going to be doing this part-time, it's definitely going to be a lot easier, obviously, because you're going to be making less sales and there's going to be less for you to do. But if you're doing this full-time, you got to think that in the beginning of the business, there's going to be so much time that you put into it. And I think a lot of people think about if it's going to be worth it or not, and they don't get past that initial hump of putting in the work. And then they think about, I don't know, this is a lot of time that I'm putting into the business and I'm not really making that much. And that's kind of just how it is in the beginning with a lot of e-commerce businesses. So they're really front loaded with work, but over time it gets a lot easier because you're able to outsource parts of the business and you just become more efficient overall. So let's go ahead and let's break this down. All right, so like I said, it really is going to depend on how much time you want to put into the business. So if you're starting out and you're only listing 2 or 3 items every couple of days, that's not going to really get you anywhere. You really need to be dedicated to learning Amazon for one, and then listing items every day or having a VA do it. But in the beginning, you're going to want to do it yourself, so you learn everything, and you do not want to mess up your Amazon account in the beginning because it's really hard to get unsuspended and all that stuff. So in the beginning, you need to think about the amount of time that you want to put into it, and that's going to kind of determine how much you're going to make, obviously. But you also need to think about being efficient as well, because you can put a bunch of time into adding items into your store, but if you're just adding a bunch of items that don't sell, you're not going to make any sales. So you need to make sure that you're efficient in the beginning and that you're consistent in listing. Unlike eBay, you don't have to list. This is just more of a theory that I've had. I've been dropshipping on eBay for almost 2 years now, and when you dropship on eBay, there's kind of this momentum when you start listing more. So let's say I don't list anything for a week, and then the following week I list 30 items every day. Likely my sales will be better in the second week because of that listing momentum. Whereas with Amazon, they don't really have a listing momentum like that. It's either you get the buy box or you don't, or you make sales or you don't. So it's not like eBay where you're creating a new listing and then you need to rank it in the search. Amazon is catalog based, so most of these items we're going to be piggybacking on, which basically means the listing is already up and there's multiple sellers on that listing, and we're going to be adding our listing basically onto that listing, our offer onto that listing. So this item is already ranked. So let's say you list an item and it is a table, right? So you have this table, it's already ranked, it has a good BSR of 10,000. And you list that item and you have the lowest price and your account is seasoned, you're going to start making sales right away if that item sells a lot. So it's not like you have to wait for that listing necessarily to be ranked. And another thing that is a little bit different than eBay is that there's no real selling limits. So on eBay, you can only list however many items they tell you can list, and then the following month you can call up and ask for a limit increase. Whereas with Amazon, as soon as you open your account, you're basically able to list as many items as you want. Kind of. Just because you're able to doesn't mean that you should be doing that, and I'll get into some of the reasons on why later, but you want to make sure that in the beginning of creating your Amazon store that you kind of take it slow, because Amazon has this thing called a velocity review, and what it is basically if your store starts to grow too fast and you're a new seller, they're going to look into it. They're going to ask you for a bunch of documentation, and if you're not able to provide them with that documentation, they're going to either suspend your account or shut your account down completely. So in the beginning, you want to take it slow. I know you're eager to make sales and stuff, but it's actually going to hurt you in the long run if you move too fast in the beginning. Unlike on eBay, whatever limits you're given on eBay, you want to fill it up as quick as possible because it's going to actually help you. Whereas with Amazon, like I said, if you go too fast, you have the possibility of getting a velocity review, especially if you have a brand new account. And another thing is that when you first open an account with Amazon, if you have a pro seller account, you're not able to get the buy box for the first 90 days. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not going to get sales. There's still ways to get sales without having the buy box eligibility, but it's kind of just to ease you into selling on Amazon. They don't want you to come onto Amazon and list 10,000 products and then just start making, 80K in sales per month, because they don't know if you're able to handle that. They want to see some metrics first. They want to see some sales velocity. They want to see you getting some sales and you're able to handle the customer service. You're able to ship items out on time. You're getting the tracking up. Your metrics are good. They need to protect their business. So if you're moving too fast and you can't keep up with the metrics, or you're just moving too fast, period, they're going to review your account. So just be really careful about that in the beginning. There's no specific number, but try not to go over 10,000 in sales in your first month. And then after that, try not to increase your sales more than, I would say, like 100%. So I don't know for sure. I've asked some people online, and everyone has a different opinion on it, but just be reasonable. You don't want to have 5K in sales your first month and then you jump all the way to 30K in sales your second month. That's just too big of an increase, and it's going to raise flags, and Amazon is going to have to investigate that. So another big hurdle in the beginning is actually going to be your capital, because Amazon does not give you the payment directly from the customer right when you make the sale. Unlike on eBay, where if you make a sale, they give you the money in your PayPal right away, and then you can take that money and then you can go ahead and buy the item, or you can buy it on your credit card and pay your credit card off right away. Whereas on Amazon, they don't pay you for sometimes up to 2 to 3 weeks, just depending on when you add the tracking and when the item gets delivered. So you're going to have those capital restraints in the beginning unless you already have a huge line of credit. Now, there's ways to get around this. You don't necessarily need to have a bunch of cash laying around or a large credit limit in the beginning. But I would suggest, for if you don't have a credit card, I would first sign up for a credit card that gives you some type of cash back, preferably like 2% cash back. I think you can get like the Plum card, or you can get the Capital One Venture card. Those are both really good 2% cards. But yeah, I would definitely try to do that in the beginning to start off. And then if you need more money, there are things like payability, which basically will front you the money. There are complications to it. They do take 2% from you. And so if you're going to be using payability versus a credit card, they're going to be taking 2% instead of you earning 2%, which is why I recommend you first start off with a credit card. But over time, you're not going to be able to handle all of the cash flow, so you're going to need to use payability or Cabbage, which is like a loan service. But don't let those capital restraints stop you. There are always going to be ways to get around it. So just go ahead and get started, and then use whatever credit line you have. If you have $500 credit line, just watch your sales and make sure you're not getting too many sales, because it is possible on Amazon. The traffic is so crazy there that if you do your product research right and you list the right types of products, your sales could grow pretty fast, and you don't want to not be able to fulfill those orders. So you need to make sure that you at least have enough capital to cover the cost of the products. All right, so now that we've gone over those couple of restraints in the beginning, which is basically going to be the capital that you have to invest, as well as the amount of time that you're willing to put into the business, let's go through some actual dollar amounts, and I'll tell you kind of like because this is going to really be, this is such a subjective subject that I can't tell you necessarily like how much you're going to make. I could tell you some possibilities that I've seen, and then I'll give you kind of like how many items I think might get you to that point. So yeah, let's go ahead and get through some of these examples. All right, so for the first example, let's say that you are working full-time and you just want to supplement your income by, I don't know, like let's say $1,000, right? So you just want to make $1,000 drop shipping on Amazon, and you don't really want to spend too much time on the business. Now, what you could do, I would say in the beginning that you really need to learn Amazon yourself, and then you can hire VAs later on. But let's say you've learned Amazon, you've got it to where you're making $1,000 a month. Then you can start hiring VAs, and then you can automate the business so you don't have to spend a bunch of time on it. And because, like I said, if you're working full time, you might not have as much time, when you get off work to work on this business. So having those VAs in place is going to be really helpful. But let's say you have you have $1,000. If you want to make $1,000 a month, you're going to need to make about, I would say, just to be safe, around $12,000 in sales, because you are going to have returns. You're going to have, maybe you might have partial refunds, and then you're also going to need to cover the software costs. So either using SKUGrid or Web Scraper app. And then you also need to cover the $40 pro seller account fee, which you need to pay to Amazon to have a pro seller account. So I would say, to keep it safe, around $12,000 in sales at 10% margin will give you that $1,000 per month. And if you break that down from the 30 days, that basically just means you need to make $300 in sales per day, which is definitely so doable on Amazon. And the number of items that you would need in your store for that is really, really, really going to depend. It's going to depend on a couple of things. It's going to depend on if you've done your product research right. So if you have 1,000 items in your store and you didn't do the right product research and you didn't price your items correctly, you're not going to make sales, right? But let's say you did really, really, really good on your product research and you found items that sell like 10 a day. Then you're definitely going to make a lot more sales and you're not going to need as many items in your store. But just to kind of give you a ballpark, I would say if you have around 300 or 400 items that are moderately well searched and they're priced correctly and stuff like that, I think 300 to 400 items can get you that $300 in sales per day. Now, I've seen people who have less than 100 items that have gotten to $1,000 in profit per month. So, like I said, it really just depends on if you do the product research right. And there's a bunch of other factors too, because like let's say you got all those products right, and then someone comes and snipes your store and undercuts you, and they just keep undercutting you. You never know what's going to happen because you don't know what the competition's going to do. You don't know if those items are going to go out of stock. So it's kind of like this ongoing thing where you need to always be replenishing your items, keeping an eye on your store. But I would definitely suggest that you always refresh your store and you make sure everything's up to date and try to keep it as efficient as possible, because the more efficient your store is, the less you'll need to spend on software cost and the less time you'll need to spend on customer service and returns and all that stuff. Because if you have really good, like let's say you have this like glass vase that you're selling. If that product keeps getting shipped out and it keeps breaking, that's going to be a hassle and it's going to cause more returns and it's going to lead to like less sales and you might get bad reviews and all that stuff. But you really want to find like these solid products that ship out on time, that don't break, that have a low return rate. So I think having a really efficient store would be best, but that's kind of just my opinion. And it's also going to depend on how expensive of items you're selling. If you're selling all furniture, you might not get as many sales. And if you're selling like a cheap $5 item, you're going to get a ton more sales if it's priced right and all that stuff. But I think you want to have a really good mix of items, because you have those high price items that are going to give you some profit, some good profit. And then you got these small ones that are going to give you volume and are going to be able to help you keep up with your metrics. So it's really important to have a good range of products. But like I said, 300 to 400 decently researched items I think will get you to that $12K in sales per month, which would bring you to your $1,000 in profit per month. And that's something you could do part-time. And then I think if you bring that up to about $15,000 in sales a month, and then you bring on a full-time 40-hour-a-week VA, then I think you're pretty much going to be coasting from there. Should be pretty easy, and that'll give you the $1,000 profit per month and it'll be moderately passive. Um, so yeah, that I think that's a pretty good analysis of the first case. All right, so let's say in the second case you want to make like $5,000 per month, right? So we're gonna break this down, and it'll be $55,000 in sales, which at a 10% margin would give you around 5.5K, and then you need to consider you need to pay. By this point, you'll have a VA for sure. You need to pay your VA. You need to pay your software costs, and you need to pay the Amazon seller account, which is like $40, which isn't too bad. But then if you break that down per day, that'll give you an average of $1,600 in sales per day. And as far as the number of items, again, for all these examples, it's going to be super subjective depending on how well you do your research. But I'm going to estimate that at around 1,500 to 2,000 items with a good price range of items, I would say that would bring you to your $5,000 in sales per month. So that's it for the second case. Now for the third case, I would say if you want to be crushing it, you want to make like $12,000 per month, I would say you need to make around 130,000 in sales. That'll give you 13,000 in profit at a 10% profit margin. That's going to be enough to pay for your team of VAs, your software cost, and then the Amazon seller account. If you break that down, that's going to be $4,300 in sales per day on average. And the number of items at this point is going to be really, really subjective. It's a little bit easier for me to estimate how many items you'll need with a smaller store, but once you get up to like these higher numbers, it's really going to just depend on like what types of products and what price range of products you're mostly adding. But on average, I would say maybe like 5,000 to 8,000, and that's being kind of inefficient. So if you're being kind of inefficient with your product research, and over time, some of those listings that used to sell don't sell anymore, and they kind of drop off. It really depends how fast you're like recycling and adding new items and deleting the old stale listings. But I would just say like a semi inefficient store with 5,000 to 8,000 items would get you to $12,000 a month in sales. Now, is it going to be really easy? I mean, you can add in 5,000 items to 8,000 items relatively easily. If you just use something like Link Grabber, you can definitely just grab all the links on a page. But you need to be doing like real research here. So it's not going to be like let me just upload these items and boom, I'm going to be making like $12,000 per month. It's going to take time for you to scale it up. Like I said, you need to make sure that in the beginning of the process that you don't scale too fast because Amazon is going to stop you, right? You also need to consider the amount of time it's going to take you to scale the business, the amount of hours that you put in, and then also it's going to depend on how quick you can train VAs and how well your VAs perform. So that's a process. If you've never hired VAs, it definitely takes a little bit longer than you expect for them to get to the point you want them to be at, because you might not hire someone who's done this before. The learning curve for them might be a little bit more than you expect. So don't think that in 3 months you're going to make $12,000 in profit. It's just not going to happen like that. It's definitely going to be a lot quicker than eBay. But you need to be careful, like I said, with the sales velocity review with Amazon. You just got to be really careful with that because your account is gold. Matt Gambrill was talking about this. People don't treat their account like gold. It really is. Like you only get one Amazon account. There's other ways to get more Amazon accounts, which is definitely more advanced. But when you first start off, it's not like eBay where you could just create another account and then start over. You've got that one Amazon account, and you need to make sure that all the metrics stay as perfect as possible. So scaling up to $12,000 in profit per month is going to take some time. $1,000 a month in profit, I feel like, is relatively easy. Like I said, you don't want to go over the $10,000 in sales in the first month, but I would say you could probably get to that point in the first 2 to 3 months. And then the 5K, that might take you closer to a year. So Now, whatever the amount is that you want to reach in profit, I would really suggest you to go back to the video I have on like goal setting, and I break down exactly how to break down a goal. So if you have a dollar amount, you can really break it down to how much work you need to do every day. And as long as you do that amount of work in however many days it is that you set, you can reach those goals relatively easy. So I'll put a link. I don't know where it's at. It's somewhere up here. It's going to be a card that pops up. Click on that. That's going to be a link to the other video. But I would suggest whatever dollar amount it is that you need, to live the lifestyle that you want, I would set that goal and then break that goal down into actionable, like daily tasks. So watch that video and then check that out. That explains everything. Keep in mind also there's an opportunity cost that comes with it. So if you're running a 12K a month profit store, you're going to have $130,000 in sales. You're going to have to manage all those VAs. You're going to have to manage all the customer service or whatever it is that like you need to manage yourself, the cash flow and all that stuff. So just consider that it is an opportunity cost. If you want to get into FBA, if you want to get into affiliate marketing, if you want to get into like anything else, if you have a daily, if you have a job or anything like that, or a hobby, you just need to consider that like if you have a bigger store, it's going to take up more of your time and it's going to take away from doing other things if that's what you want to do. Now, if you just want to make money, go right ahead. You definitely can make a lot of money on Amazon dropshipping. There are people like I'm sure you guys seen online, Matt Gambrill is making a ton of money. He's been doing it for I think 4 or 5 years now. And there's other people online that are making bank as well. So don't think that it's going to be limiting in any way. There's ways that you can make, I don't know a dollar amount. I don't have a dollar amount for you, but I would say like there's probably people out there that are making like 100K a month. And those are the top, obviously the top Amazon people, but the opportunity is there. So don't limit yourself when it comes to scaling up this business. But consider that there is an opportunity cost if there's other things you want to do. So yeah, if you guys have any questions on this topic or there's another topic you want me to cover, make sure to comment below. If this video gave you some value, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe as well as hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on anything. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.